Hi, everyone. Welcome to My Chamber TV. We are the heartbeat of the Tampa Bay community. I want to thank you for joining us today. We are featuring the
West Pasco Chamber of Commerce.
Very
for
good.
the time being, yes.
And I'm your host, Barbara Marville Kelly, and with me is Paul Friedlander. Great that I showed up today for the show, right? Yeah, I know. Yeah. So it's all good. Paul stood in for me last time because I just was one of those human things.
Hey.
You know what I mean?
There's been times where I've had to not show for you.
So
that's what makes us a team. Exactly.
And they say, what is it? The teamwork makes the dream work.
That's right.
So that's what we're going to do today,
exactly.
Right? We've got our first guest featured on the show today. That happens to be Jason Grubbs, new member with the chamber.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And not. Fairly new with your business, with your insurance business, Brightway Insurance, right?
That's correct, right.
So tell us a little bit about this, being new with the chamber and all this. And I love the subject matter because it's property and what else?
Casualty, yes. And we're coming into hurricane season, so it's on everybody's mind.
Yes,
yes it is, very much. Yes.
And now that we've passed June 1st, what are some people's options?
Well, that's an interesting question. Yeah, what I tell folks is, insurance is one of those things no one really likes to talk about or even pay for that matter. But it's a necessity, and we buy it just in case. And I think with the examples that we've seen across the country in the last several years, with hurricanes that have come through, with flooding and windstorms and so on, it's important if you don't have it to speak with an agent. And of course, we've got over 100 different carriers that we work with out of our agency. And so for us, it will not only educate our clients about insurance and about hurricane coverage and so on, but we'll also shop the market to make sure that we find the right price and the right coverage for our clients. But it's definitely something, even if you currently have it, I know a lot of folks are coming up to renewal time to get it reviewed and make sure that, because life changes, people move, they get married, have kids, various things occur, you buy a bunch of new stuff, so your content coverage may not be enough.
That's so true. That is so very true. And when things do change and you're not staying on top of things, you can be hit with a real big surprise that is
That's correct.
Not really fun.
Absolutely.
Jason, you and your, I apologize, you and your wife are partners in this, the Torres-Grubbs agency under the Brightway umbrella. And I know you said you guys, when we were talking before, you've had it for about a year now. There's a lot of good companies out there. What made you decide to join put your umbrella with Brightway?
Well, great question, Paul. So I spent a couple of decades in banking with a large financial institution here, and my wife was a freelance accountant and bookkeeper. And I'm a little bit older, I'm 47, and after my stint in corporate America and really considering the entrepreneurial drive that I've always had, we came to the conclusion that if we didn't make the decision now, we would not make the decision. And so we spent about a good solid 2 years researching different opportunities for us to get involved in, considering what we were going to leave behind. And of all of the organizations that we looked at, Brightway Insurance just rose to the top. The support structures and the relationships with the carriers, that was the most important thing for us. Being able to sit down with a client and not just have a handful of carriers to talk about, but really have an opportunity to shop the entire market and be able to present to our clients, again, what the right coverage is and what the right price is for them.
That's awesome. And I know that you'll go meet the client where it's best for them, but your office is located where?
We're at 4138 Rowan Road, so just off of Route 54 and Rowan. If folks are familiar with Zen Forest Restaurant, we're right in that plaza there.
I know just where you are. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Get a good meal. We've got a cupcake shop next door.
Can't beat that.
And then
come on over.
And come on over, and you're satisfied. You can talk insurance at that point.
I love it.
And we're talking homeowners and things like that, which we know is important, and it's obviously at the top of everybody's mind right now, as Barb said, with hurricane season. But there's some important things when it comes to property and casualty as it pertains to auto and everything else. And because I think sometimes people, I know it's Florida, so they underinsure, but underinsured unfortunately doesn't protect you and your family from certain things. Do you review that with them?
Absolutely, yeah. Auto insurance, it's interesting. That's when you talk property and casualty insurance, that seems to be what everyone wants to discuss first and foremost,
Right.
because most policies renew every 6 months, and so, and along with that, you know, premiums have a tendency to increase every 6 months. You know, in Florida, we've got the second highest number of uninsured motorists in the country, second to California. And we spend a lot of time in our vehicles. You know, I know here in Tampa Bay, you know, as folks continue to transition from other parts of the country here, traffic is increasing. There are more drivers on the road.
Yes.
And so the opportunity to have an incident has increased dramatically. And you're absolutely right, Paul. A lot of folks are underinsured. You know, when it comes to insurance, as I said earlier, it's not something we like to pay for, but it's a necessity.
It is a necessity.
And it's one of those things with auto insurance, we hate to write that check or have it drafted out, but the odds of getting into an auto accident are starting to increase, and a lot higher actually than getting hit by a hurricane. So I know we talked about homeowners insurance.
And you know what? I have to bring this up because it's a big thorn in my side. In the digital age today, you know, sometimes I think I'm more afraid of people who are texting and talking on the phone than drunk drivers.
Absolutely. Yeah, fortunately here in Florida, we've got that law now, so it's, you know, you get pulled over, it's illegal to text and drive.
Yep.
And it's especially prevalent with younger drivers, and you know, unfortunately we have a lot of younger drivers on the road. My daughter, my oldest, is 15, and interestingly enough, on the way to the office today, she's with us because she's out of school. She asked for a car, so you know, it's fresh on my mind. You know, so we're very careful when we drive to make sure we set the right example as parents, because they will, you know, they will follow suit. But texting and driving, it's important not to get distracted. I mean, you know, what we tell our children is really at the end of the day, those are weapons that you're in control of, so you got to be very careful.
They are. You know, we have such a short segment. When it comes to insurance, so many people would like to ask questions that can't because they're not here. Can you give us some updates, things that you can help us as an insured person in any of the genres that you're doing, whether it's homeowners, whether it's casualty? What are some of the latest changes? Just quick little snippets.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So, you know, in Florida, again, going back to some of the recent examples we've had with all the storms, carriers now are reevaluating roofing situations, right? So conditions of roofs. Here in Pasco in particular, we do have a lot of older homes and a lot of older roofs, and when it comes to getting coverage on homes, with that being said, it has a propensity to increase premiums. And it really narrows down the amount of carriers you have available to you. So making sure your roof's in great condition. If it needs updating, it's well worth getting it updated. Second thing is insurance scores. A lot of carriers are focusing now on insurance score, which is more than just your credit score, though that does play a part in it. It's also whether you've had claims in the past, and a lot of insurance carriers will even go back to the previous properties you've owned to see how you've negotiated that. So very important to make sure that when it comes to your insurance score, your credit score is solid, you know, all of that is cleaned up, and be aware of that. And if there are challenges, have that conversation with an insurance agent. What that does is it helps us determine what the right carrier is for you.
I see.
You know, because the challenge is writing someone a policy with an insurance carrier is easy to do up front, but an insurance carrier is going to go to the home and inspect it, and that's where we see a lot of insurance cancellation. So, and for us, again, the benefit is we work with most insurance carriers in Florida, so if we know up front what the situations are, we can pair you with the right carrier.
See, yeah, exactly.
And Jason, I got to ask you, because I'm thinking back, especially when it comes to the auto, you got to be upfront with these companies if all of a sudden you have a son or a daughter that moved back into the house that are using the cars and things, or you could end up with some challenges. Is that true?
That is absolutely true, yeah. You know, when with auto insurance, if you've got a licensed driver in the home, living in the home, they've got to be on that policy. And there can be a situation where that, teenager or that college student has their own insurance.
Right.
But regardless, you've got to let your insurance agent know that, because the insurance carrier is going to find out.
Right.
It's public information, and they do their due diligence prior to insuring someone and post insuring someone.
Okay, and when talking about the auto, one of the things, the reason I asked you initially about it is that one of the networking groups I'm involved with, we have a good buddy, Steve Duran, who's a PI, personal injury attorney, and I had him review the declaration page of mine, and he came back and talked to me, he put a letter together and talked to me about some of the things that, yes, they might cost you a little more money, but it wouldn't hurt to have, so it was a nice revelation, which I'm thinking people can do that and then come to you and say, hey, this is what, from that side of the fence, it's interesting to because he's seen it.
Absolutely, and it costs nothing to ask a question.
Right.
So what I would say to someone who may be watching, who has questions about their policy or questions about insurance, give us a call, or send us an email, go to our website. It costs nothing to ask questions, and myself and my wife and our team, we're going to answer those questions. There's no obligation to it, because for us, one of our key core competencies and what we're really striving to is educate the community more so than anything else. If we educate folks about insurance and we do what we're supposed to do as agents, we're going to earn the business.
Absolutely. We have less than a minute here remaining. I want you to share what your slogan is, because to me that hit home.
Yeah, it's the insurance agency reinvented around you. That's Brightway's slogan, and really what that means is what I just said. Going back to that, we're going to find out, and we're going to who you are, what's important to you. We're going to take a consultative approach. And then we're going to look to pair up the right coverage at the right pricing to meet your need. We're not going to overinsure you, and we're not going to underinsure you, and we're going to make sure we stay on top of it through the course of your relationship with us.
So you customize.
Absolutely.
Personalized. I love it. How can you ask for any more, right?
No,
with an
you
insurance
can't. You
agency, you need to call Jason Grubbs, sit down and talk with him. Go ahead. I want to come have cupcakes with you and talk about
Come on
that.
by.
Let's
We can do that. Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you.
My pleasure.
We're going to also continue on with more great guests here today with West Pasco. But, as the hurricane season is now upon us, you just never know. Check your coverage. You may be surprised and may very well be underinsured. So we're going to take a brief little time out here, my friend. We have more coming up. Thank you.
It's a pleasure, young man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I may very well contact you.
Absolutely.
We'll
Look
be
forward
right
to it.
back.
This is the Cannabis Podcast, powered by Trulieve on Radio Influence. It's an inside look and the scientific facts in and around the world of medical cannabis. Now, here is your host, Ian Beckles.
He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
And we're back here with my Chamber TV, Barbara Marville Kelly, and my dear friend, Paul Friedlander.
Yep, and we're here today representing the West Pasco Chamber of Commerce, and I always like to mention that I also represent the West Pasco Chamber of Commerce, but work for Total Title Solutions.
Total
so I
Title.
like to get them in there and let them know. But we're excited to have this next couple of people on, not a couple, but we have the famous Debbie Jones, who is the, again, your title, I'm sorry.
Director of Patient Access.
Access, okay.
Yes.
And so I've taken that's admissions, right?
Fancy way of
There
saying
you
the
go.
admissions
That's awesome.
department.
And we have Dwight Kerr, and Dwight is the Director of Philanthropy, Charter Health Foundation for HPH Hospice.
Welcome, both of you.
Welcome,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank
and
you.
Let's start with Dwight. How does the foundation help with HPH?
HPH Hospice is a nonprofit hospice, so
Okay.
we service the full community, whether they have insurance or not. There are some people out there that are too young for Medicaid, and it's not provided by their company, or they may even be homeless, and yet we provide the same hospice care no matter what the situation that individual would be in.
And you guys have a beautiful, it's your facility right there on Rowan, correct?
We have a beautiful
Yes.
facility on Rowan, on Clinton Avenue in Dade City,
Okay.
in Brooksville, on Cortez, and in Lecanto.
Okay, awesome.
So we
Very
have.
good.
And how long have you been with them?
I've only been with HPH Hospice since October of 2018.
18, awesome. And before that, same type of industry?
Yes, I'm retired from the Boy Scouts of America. I was a fundraiser for the Boy Scouts,
Nice.
raising money in a 20-county area in central Georgia.
Gotcha.
Very nice.
And being the admissions, what kind of services do you guys offer?
Being admissions,
Debbie.
we go out, we're the first ones that a family or a patient would see. So we're the ones that explain hospice to them, get them started on hospice. Some of the services that are offered once we get them started on services is there's nurses that go out, home health aides if they so choose. We have social workers and chaplains and volunteers. Any medications that they would need, we have a pharmacy, so we supply those. Any equipment that they would need to be at home safely, we supply that. We have a program for veterans where we can do a veterans pinning service and honor them.
Nice.
Oh,
We're
that
available
is nice.
24/7.
And you've been with them for how long?
Over 10 years.
Have you? That's awesome.
Yes.
We had my father in my house under hospice down in Pinellas
Yeah.
County, so really appreciate all that you guys do. What are some of the misconceptions that people have of hospice?
Some of the things that we run across is that people think I'm not sick enough for hospice yet, or I've got more than just a few days left. We like to get in there as soon as possible because then we can help build that trust relationship
Yes.
with them. We can get to know them. We can know what's going to come down the road to where we can hopefully avoid some problems with them.
That's what I was going to ask you. With those type of misconceptions,
Sure.
when you guys come in and do my mother's sick, what do you look when you come in to do an eval? What do you all look for with that eval?
We look at what's their diagnosis,
Okay.
what kind of decline that they've had, what time period has that decline happened over, their function, how are they able to function. mentality, you know, just any decline. Are they eating? Are they losing weight?
Right.
Just, you know, what's the picture now compared to what it was, say, 6 months ago?
And if they're not at that point ready, then do you guys set up follow-up, or how do you handle that? You come in and say, we're not really ready for hospice, but...
Yes, we always follow up at certain periods of time to see how they're doing, how they, you know, just checking in on them, how you doing, any questions can we answer for you, and if they feel like maybe now's the time for hospice, then we go out and we do it all over again for them.
That's
So,
awesome.
So you almost like start from scratch.
And Dwight, from your side, how can the community help?
You know, the community is very generous. The unfunded programs like the charity care and our bereavement programs, the veterans pinnings,
Yes.
are all funded through the
Through
community.
the community.
We have community members that make individual donations. We have many that have thought of Chapter's health system and the foundation and HPH in their wills. And we also have a need for volunteers. We have 3 different types of volunteers. We have hospice volunteers who are working directly with the patients, might be giving respite to a caregiver that needs to go out and get her hair done or just have a break, and a hospice volunteer come in and read to the patient, or maybe just sit there, be with that patient.
Yes.
We have administrative volunteers, and we also have 2 thrift stores in Pasco County, and we have volunteers that help at the thrift store, and they're all very appreciated.
And you have a large one right there at the corner of Congress and Mass.
That's
and then the
correct.
second one is located where?
In Zephyr Hills.
Okay.
And there's 3 other thrift stores in Hillsborough County under Chapter's Health Foundation.
And let me ask a question. This is, I know we talk when you think hospice, a lot of times I think misconception again is people think about, you know, seniors and people like that. Do you all work with children also?
yes, we do.
Okay.
Well, that's the sad ones, but yes,
Yes.
we do work with children. In many ways, we've had children as patients, and then we work with children of patients we've had on hospice. We have programs for them. So
You have grief services as well as a camp too, do you not?
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm glad that you asked that. Absolutely. Tell us about that, because that's got to be amazing that you're able to just bridge that gap.
On our bereavement programs, which is the grief services,
Yes.
there's support groups for adults, children, and family.
Okay.
Our bereavement program is open to the entire community, not just people that has had a loss through hospice.
Okay.
In fact,
That's good to know.
our counselors and all work with the school system, the Pasco County school system, and children and families are referred to the grief program. We just had in March Camp Reach Out, which was, I think, our 22nd year.
Okay.
It's a grief bereavement camp for children who have lost a loved one. The kids are just thinking, we're going to camp, we're going fishing and swimming and
Right.
hiking, and we're going to have fun. But in reality, it's a program that is all formulated towards working them and walking them through that grief grief experience,
Right.
so that they're going to come out on the other side a little stronger and ready to face life again.
You bring them into a happy place.
Oh, very
Happy
much.
And that's part of the admission process. If we get out there and we see that there's children in the home that could benefit from it, we make sure that the counselors are aware so that they can get that on their radar.
Debbie, what determines
Great.
whether, like I said, when before my father passed away, we had gotten a hospital bed from you all, and we actually had him in our house. What determines whether they go to a facility or stay at home? Is that up to the family?
It's up to the family. That's our goal is to follow their wishes.
Gotcha.
If we go out and someone is having uncontrolled symptom of some sort and we feel that they would benefit from going to the hospice house, we can offer that as an option. But if the family and the patient would rather them stay at home, then we follow their wishes and we offer the best care possible right there in the home.
And it's awesome. I
That's
know
wonderful,
Mom
yeah.
got involved with, after Dad did pass away, she got involved for years with a group of 5 or 6 other ladies that had all been through the same experience. They go to lunch once a month or once a week or
that's
something.
neat.
Yes.
Our own
Nice.
support group.
Yes,
exactly. It was
exactly.
neat.
Yeah, and that's
Right.
another misunderstanding. People think they have to go to hospice. And like I said, we follow their wishes. You know, we go wherever they call home.
Interesting. My mind is going a million miles an hour here. All kinds of questions that I could come up with. Well, you make it so that it's a good thing for those at that stage of their lives.
Very
for the
much
whole
so.
entire family, it doesn't seem like there's anything really left out, you know?
No, and like you said, it's nice what y'all do, and I hope this doesn't step on any feet, but you know, I know you have like in Hillsborough, in Pinellas, it's Suncoast, and I know you have HPH, and I know there's Gulfside. They're all individual companies, are they not? How does it work, Dwight?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Chapters Health System actually has 3 hospices under their umbrella.
Okay.
So
And they're based in Hillsborough, aren't they? or
they're
not?
based out of, main office is in Hillsborough, but they have Life Path Hospice out of Lakeland.
Okay.
Excuse me, I said that wrong. Life Path Hospice is out of Hillsborough.
Okay.
Good Shepherd Hospice is out of Lakeland. And HPH Hospice that covers Pasco, Hernando, and Citrus counties.
Awesome.
Some hospices are nonprofit, like ours, that is open to the entire community.
And some
There's
are
other
for-profit.
hospices that are for-profit.
Gotcha.
Oh, great.
Gotcha.
We only have 30 seconds remaining. I want to thank both of you for coming in.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Our
Sharing.
viewers, they can call you and have a conversation with you to just give them some space and making
There's-
some decisions and
yes.
all that, right?
Someone answers the phone 24/7.
Awesome.
Awesome.
That's great.
Guys, listen,
Yeah.
thank you
Thank
again
you
Thank
so
you.
very,
Thank you
very
for
much.
taking your time and
Thank
being
you.
with us today.
Thank you.
All right. We're taking
Have
a
a
break right
wonderful
now,
day. We
and
will
thanks
be
for
back.
coming. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
This is the Cannabis Podcast, powered by True Leaf on Radio Influence. It's an inside look and the scientific facts in and around the world of medical cannabis. Now, here is your host, Ian Beckles.
He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
actually vice.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back into My Chamber TV. I'm Barbara Marville Kelly. Thanks for joining us. And we also have Mr. Paul Friedlander back again. We were trying to decide, is it 5 or 6 years? I think it's going on 6 years now.
I think we've passed the 5-year mark, going on 6, and we are here today representing the West Pasco Chamber of Commerce. Next month will be a different story.
Okay, we'll reveal that next month.
Exactly.
But we're going to be talking to Jill Tarbox, Capital City Bank Group.
Yes.
And I can't wait to hear all about this because we were talking about your side hustle before that, just before the show started.
Exactly.
And so Jill, your title is?
I am Vice President Business Banker.
Okay.
And since Capital City is, it's not a Bank of America, it's not a SunTrust, it's an awesome bank, but give us a little history.
Sure. We actually have been, we have a long history. So we started back in the 1800s. And most people don't know that. And it's a family-owned and operated bank. We are publicly traded, and it's probably about 124 years old.
Oh, wow.
So they started making loans to farmers in Tallahassee, and that's how the bank grew and into a $3 billion company serving 26 communities in Florida.
Wow. I love stories. That's great.
So, and it's still, family owned and operated, and so our CEO, president and CEO, well, our CEO is Bill Smith, and his great-great-great-grandfather is the one who really started the bank.
So how long have you been with the bank?
I've been with the bank a year.
A year. Have you always been in banking?
Always been in banking.
Ah, so this is your wheelhouse.
This is my wheelhouse.
All right, good for you.
One side or the other.
You've got some questions here.
I do
Champ.
have some questions, but I'm gonna talk to you about the an LPO, because that's what you basically do. So talk to us about what an LPO does.
Sure. I'll go back a little bit too. So the office that I'm currently in, that's located in Port Richey on 19, was a working Capital City Bank branch. And they had closed it about 3 years ago, with all of the market, and so they kind of left it unopened. And when they hired me as what's called a LPO, which is a loan production office, they reopened that as my office. So I'm actually the only one there. But a loan production office is a little bit different. We are heavily regulated by the
okay.
Yes. So we have regulations that we have to follow.
So in that branch where you are, in that nice, beautiful building all by your lonesome, as we watch people walk by that are sort of a little bit different in West Pasco. But what are the things you're allowed to do in there?
I'm really allowed to talk about loans and to have clients come into my office. It's more about what I'm not allowed to do. So here's the regulation part of it is that, I can't talk about deposits or any sort of ancillary services that we have. I can outside of my four walls. I can't have a closing within my office. So I have to close a loan outside of my four walls. And, so those are the things that we are regulated on in making our loans happen.
I see.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. And I'm gonna sneak over here to page 2 because what's loan production versus full service?
Sure. Well, really with full service is that you're accepting payments, you're accepting deposits, and those are some of the things that, again, we can't do in my office. So even though we are an office of Capital City, I can't accept a loan payment. So if somebody walks in or comes to the office, they can't bring a deposit or they can't bring their loan payment to me.
Interesting.
It is a
Talk
little,
about heavily.
But that allows you to really, on the positive side,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
allows you to really concentrate and service those commercial customers that you deal with very specifically.
That's what I'm thinking.
Without the ancillary part of the
yes.
the drive-ups and the tellers and everything else.
It does. It really helps me to focus on what I'm there to do. And so with opening this office and my hire, it's really more of kind of moving the market and, really expanding that market for Capital City Bank. So I am the farthest south office for the bank right now until we expand a little bit more.
Very good.
Yeah.
And how long have you been over there? Is that?
I've been there for a year.
I see. I see. Very
And where
good.
you guys are at, like right in the middle between the big guys and the small guys, really gives you a lot of advantage in the marketplace with
It
what
does.
you do.
Yeah.
And as we talked about today, there's somebody that's your client base is who?
Any business owner.
Right.
You know, really, I really only do business loans. So I don't work with residential clients. And my clients are anybody that is looking to purchase a building, expand their business in any way, and those are my clientele.
I see. So you're taking in applications there?
I can, yes.
Okay. But the closings are
The closings
elsewhere.
are elsewhere.
Got it.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't do that inside the branch.
Inside the, yes.
But we were talking about it today, and there's probably some business people that if they're not watching it now will when you get that and put it back up. Talk to us, we talked earlier today when we were at the branch visiting you, about SBA versus conventional.
Sure.
Because I know people have heard about it. And SBA is something that really works well for smaller businesses, correct?
It can work well for anybody, really.
It can,
It
okay.
really depends on your client's situation. So a conventional loan is held in-house, where we're the ones that are servicing that loan. And, but they're restricted as to, where they have to put down 20% if they're purchasing a building. So they have to be under a certain loan to value, and that's what we're looking for. Rates are a little bit better. They're a fixed rate on a conventional loan. With an SBA 7A loan or an SBA loan, it's a government guaranteed loan. So it runs through a different set of guidelines where they don't necessarily have to put as much money down. The guideline for government guaranteed lending is 10 to 15% down, and they have a longer term. So on a normal conventional loan, you're looking at max probably a 15-year to a 20-year term or amortization on that loan, where a government guaranteed loan, you're out on one loan at 25 years.
Yeah.
That's some pretty good information to be
Yeah.
passing around.
It is. The difference, I think, in rate-wise is government guaranteed loans typically are not fixed rates. They are floating with prime. And so it's a percentage above prime, and that's how it is guaranteed. But what it does is it mitigates a lot of risk for the bank
Of course.
because there's a portion of the loan that is guaranteed by the federal government.
I see. Wow.
Yeah.
And being a small / medium-sized company, it allows them to
Yes.
be really, really community-oriented. So, anybody looking to, as Jill mentioned, expand their business, anybody looking to buy their first home, she has counterparts that handle that side of the business.
Yes.
Very
So-
good. Very good.
Yeah, so it's I think it depends on the client and, what is going to be the best fit for them, and that's kind of what we do, and, try to understand our client's business. And
Sure.
we're a community bank, so we want to be part of the community, and we want to help the community. And I think that really taking the time to know your client is how you get to do that, and formulating those relationships.
What you're saying is really what we talk about here on My Chamber TV. We were sharing that earlier on,
Yes.
is customizing and really personalizing and getting back to building relationships. And unless you build the relationship, do you get a chance to really know your client to see how you can give them the best service and for what type of service.
Exactly.
And, yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Not everything fits for the same client
Right.
to the next client.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and I think you have to understand how their business works as well.
Sure.
In order to give them the best service that you can.
Sure.
Whether it's trying to help them with cash flow, whether it's trying to help them with an expansion, or what most people don't, think about is succession planning.
Yes.
So what do you do with your business when you're ready to retire? Where does it go? What do you do? What is your plan? How long do you think you're going to be in that business?
And it gets back to that personal touch. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a shot because everybody fits into somewhere. But
Yes.
when you talk about, if you listen to somebody talk about some of the big boys out there, it's the impersonal service. It's trying to get them to see you. And you and I know from what we've done now and what we've done in the past, it's at the end of the day, whether you're in banking or whether you're in title or whether you do what you do in terms of hosting shows and some of your other ventures, at the end of the day, it's all about customer service.
It's all
really
about
is.
customer
And you can talk to me
service.
about, doing everything online, but, are you going to, if you're starting a business and you meet $1 million loan, are you going to go online to do that? Or are you going to find a personal banker like Jill and say, do I need to do it? And Jill's like all of us. If she can help you, she will. But I will tell you this, if she can't help you, I guarantee you she will know somebody that can at least direct you that way.
And that's the service. And I think that's the service that has gone to the wayside in many different businesses, and we talk about this consistently. It's not about all of this. It's about really that face-to-face contact and sitting down. I know we're just being told that we have just about a minute remaining. But you've been a member with the Chamber for a while now.
Oh, yes.
And
I met her years ago as a member of the chamber when I first got involved.
That's so great. And they go hand in hand with your businesses, and being involved with the community, it's really, it's a given to be a member of the chamber.
It really is.
I want your business card because I just may be able to call you with some clients that just might need some financing. So
You've got it.
this is really great, and to know where you are, too. I know exactly where you are. Paul, you have anything in the less than 30? 15 seconds,
15
quick.
seconds.
Go.
If we didn't mention it earlier, it's a $3 billion company that services 26 communities in Florida, Georgia, and Alabama.
So there you go.
Miss Jill,
That is very
appreciate
impressive.
you, girl.
Thank you.
You're a
Thank you.
sweetheart.
Thank
Hope
you.
to see you around town. We'll
I
be
hope
right
so
back.
too. Thank you.
This is the Cannabis Podcast, powered by TrueLeaf on Radio Influence. It's an inside look and the scientific facts in and around the world of medical cannabis. Now, here is your host, Ian Beckles.
He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
watch this. Welcome back to My Chamber TV.
I was going to say
I know
that.
you were, so.
He's just cut me off. It's okay.
Yeah, just started.
Go.
I am Paul Friedlander, and we are representing the West Pasco Chamber of Commerce this week. I am here with my host. I'm the co-host with the host, Miss Barbara Marville Kelly. And we have two lovely young ladies that
We
are here
do.
today representing the Regional Medical Center Bayonet Point and the Medical Center
Trinity.
of Trinity.
Yes. Correct.
All right, there,
And
I got
this
it
young
down.
lady was here. How long has it been?
It's been
About
a
a
year,
year?
Who
exactly.
were you here
Yeah.
with, Carlie?
It was
Yes.
from Bayonet Point Hospital. I was here for wound care awareness
Right, but
last
you
year.
you had a partner with you, didn't you, or were you solo?
Nope, solo last
Was
year.
it?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, the reason they're back a year later is this week is National Wound Care Awareness Week, and June is Wound Care Awareness Month,
That's right.
which means what?
Which means that we're trying to bring awareness for a growing issue in our community and just in the world in general. There's not a lot of people that know about wound care awareness, know about advanced wound care centers, and there's not a lot of people that talk about it. Yeah. It's a growing problem, and people talk about cancer, people talk about stroke, people talk about heart disease, but not a lot of people talk about chronic wounds. And a chronic wound is essentially a wound that's been there for 30 days or greater. Some wounds are there for less, depending on if you have diabetes, and
Right.
they can go bad very quickly, but typically
Yes.
30 days. Yeah.
And Jillian, talk to us about the hyperbaric part of it.
Yeah, so our centers both have the hyperbaric oxygen chambers that are in adjunctive therapy to the treatments that we can offer for a chronic non-healing wound. It's really phenomenal therapy in that it helps your own body promote healing within itself. It's a pressurized chamber that we fill 100% with oxygen, and that pressure helps push the oxygen deep into the tissues where all of the blood vessels and arteries can't get to. So that extra oxygen down in those tissues kind of help bring life back into it.
Yes.
And the body will then start to heal itself.
Well, other than shows like
Get it.
this and things like this, what else do you guys do to bring awareness to it?
We're constantly promoting. We have different events. We go to skilled nursing facilities, we go to nursing homes, we partner with home health agencies, we do health fairs. There's a lot on social media that we try to do, and we're just constantly talking about it out in the community. We're out visiting physicians almost daily, going to primary care offices, advocating for patients to give them a resource and a place to heal, a place to get better and move on with their lives, because
Right.
that's the whole point. Some people have wounds for a year or more, the same wound.
What?
Yes, if they have a chronic wound and they have a comorbidity like diabetes or arterial insufficiency, venous insufficiency or arterial disease, it keeps them from healing, and they will sometimes be dealing with it because they don't know that advanced wound care centers exist, so they'll just be dealing with it, changing the dressings day after day, hoping that it will heal.
Now, are these mostly patients that are living alone that are dealing with that, or
Not
can it be?
necessarily.
No.
No, I mean sometimes, but not necessarily. I think that there's a family member gets really good at just changing the dressing, and it becomes their new norm. You know,
Yeah,
they
I
just
see
are
what
like,
you're saying.
and they just think that it's something they have to live with because I have diabetes, so this is
They
just one of
accept
the
it.
things.
They accept it because that's a
Yeah.
known thing.
Yep.
If you have diabetes and you have a wound, it's not going to heal. Like
Yep.
you know.
Yeah, but
And
there-
again, it's just not a very well-known therapy out there. That people don't know that wound care clinics are there to help treat just these wounds. It's a specialty that's very underserved in the community, that just the knowledge of the existence of them.
And I'm looking at some of these numbers on here about the stats for chronic wounds. 6.7 million people living with chronic wounds
Yeah.
Yes.
each year,
Yes.
$50 billion to our healthcare system
Yes.
Yes.
for wounds. Now, somebody has a chronic wound. They come to you. Does it end up being I don't know, should I say 100% where you can fix that, or is it let's say it's diabetes and it's an open wound. What happens?
That's what I'm wondering.
So there's what we use is the 9 essential steps of healing and a clinical practice guideline. So that person can expect to heal. Most
Okay.
people heal. Our healing rates are 22 days. The median day to heal is 22 days. Some people heal within 12 weeks, that's our goal. But if they don't, then we start back at the top of those guidelines and figure out, okay, what is truly going on underlying? Because they treat the whole body. They don't just treat the wound. They
I'd
figure
love
out,
to hear that.
They figure out, okay, what's their diet like? Are they eating enough protein? Is there something else that we've missed? Do they have a venous insufficiency that we didn't catch? Some people come in and don't know they're diabetic. So they have to have those tests done. So we send them out for the labs and the cultures, and there could be a bacteria growing that is a strange, unheard of, bacteria that we've got to get the right antibiotic for. Because some people,
of course,
think that one antibiotic treats all
takes care
bugs.
of them all.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And that's just the the lack of knowledge. Is most of the success, would you say, or a high percentage done with the hyperbaric chamber?
It's a very small percentage of our population of patients that actually get that therapy.
Really?
It is very, very highly regulated by the government
Right.
as to what constitutes necessary and not.
That was my next question.
Yep.
So what does constitute necessary? I'm just
Anything that
curious.
doesn't cost them any extra money.
Yeah, exactly.
As the best answer to any question is, it depends. It depends on the insurance you have. It depends on the wound that you have and what's causing that wound. We know for sure diabetic ulcers, if they haven't been healing within 30 days or greater, then that's usually a very good indication that will be covered. If delayed effects of radiation, we know we can get.
Yeah.
And then there's always special cases. And so we work really closely with the patients. Our whole clinical team is constantly looking over that chart and saying, we've tried all of these things and we haven't gotten to where we need to be. This wound is not progressing to the healing rate we want. So what can we do for the patient? How can we advocate to get this therapy for them?
And do you combine home health and wound care, advanced wound care at certain times?
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. We work with home health. So
Okay.
it's not and or it's
Right.
not either or.
Great.
It's both. So what happens is we bring them in once a week for a physician visit to diagnose, to treat, to debride, to discuss the treatment plan. And then every other dressing change that they need, if it's more than once a week, they would then have home health that we would work with, give the order to, and they'd go out and carry out. And there are our eyes and ears in the field as well. Like, they can let us know if there's a change from the last time we saw them, and then we can bring the patient back in quicker.
And I'm just, again, I apologize, I'm doing some reading here, but we talked about the hyperbaric because I brought that up at the beginning. But talk about some of these other things, like I noticed it says total contact casts, skin substitutes, and then of course specialty wraps, I'm sure, speak for themselves. What is a contact cast?
A total contact cast is, well, it's a cast. They are used on the leg.
Right.
The difference is it props your foot into a direct 90-degree angle so that when the patient walks on it, it's spreading out that pressure so it's not all on the one spot, which is typically where the wound is, either on the ball of the foot or the heel. So it helps that wound heal if the patient truly has to stay mobile and can't keep it up all day, every day.
It's called offloading.
Yes.
Okay.
Essentially. So
Yeah.
they're just taking that pressure off.
It's one of our gold standards.
I was just going to say that has to be a major contributory to
is.
healing, because if you don't, it's raising the awareness, which is what you girls are doing, ladies, I should say. But it's true.
What about skin substitutes?
So
Yeah.
those are amazing. We can use anything from embryonic sac or
Placental.
Placental sac, yeah.
and then they even use it's got a skin substitute that they place on the wound. The wound bed cannot have a bacteria. It can't be infected. It has to be clean, a clean
Right.
wound bed, debrided. Then they place that on there, and it helps the wound epithelialize. Like, it helps it grow that skin across the wound, because typically if you have a large wound that's not epithelializing, you need something to bridge it. You need something to bring the skin together.
Interesting. That's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it grows together. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a substitute for skin.
For skin. Yeah. Creates a barrier. It creates a skin barrier.
Yeah.
Wow. I
And then
didn't know
I
all
assume
that.
complications then makes it a little more difficulty in terms of somebody that might be on a blood thinner or anything like that.
Yes, absolutely. We have to know everything that they're taking,
Yes.
every medication that they're on, because if they come in for a debridement and they're on a blood thinner, we got to know.
Right.
We have to know. They have to be honest with us about if they're smoking, if they're drinking. You know, just everything goes into play when you're dealing with a wound and why
Especially
it's not
if they're in
healing.
the hyperbaric chamber and they're smoking, right?
That could be problematic.
But you know what, you guys, and I think Mary's hanging out there somewhere, Miss Samis. Both Trinity and Bayonet Point have received awards for Center of Excellence. What does that mean, you guys?
That means that our mother company, as I call them, which is Healogics, they're a national wound care company that promotes wound centers throughout the country.
Okay.
They set standards that they want each clinic to be hitting to be considered nationally a center of distinction or a center of excellence. And we have to meet a certain median days to heal, a healing rate within our population of patients. We have to have at least 92% of our patients heal within a certain time frame, and a really high patient satisfaction score. Because we want everybody to come in and have a good experience. So Carlie and I both had at least 94% or higher for patient satisfaction.
Congratulations.
And I see healing rate of over
awesome.
95%.
So 2017, we both got Center of Distinction, and then 2018 Center of Excellence. So we're two-time award-winning. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And you know what? That really gives the hope to the community, people in the community. But I have one question before we close out this segment. It is, you mentioned that you're going to the doctor's offices.
Yes.
If a doctor is caring for a patient that has a wound that is not healing, now this may be a dumb question, but why do they not know about you that you must go there? What am I missing? We have 1 minute.
Sure. Go ahead. It's a tricky question. Sometimes they do know that we exist, but it's an insurance issue and that the insurance doesn't always allow it. Or sometimes the doctor just hasn't been educated. Carlie and I try to get them all, but to be honest, it's hard to hit every single one of them out there.
Yeah.
And that's our goal, and that's why we keep pushing. We're out there every day, identifying a new office and
as we
seeing
wrap
who we
up,
can
how
get
long
to.
have you each been with HCA?
I have been there for 1.5 years.
And I just over 2 years.
Awesome. So you guys
Yeah.
are newbies.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, you can come here and we'll talk about it, and this segment will go out over and over and just push it out into the neighborhood.
Wonderful.
You need to
Absolutely.
really be more and more than what you can do, and you're out there winning awards for what you're doing, but let us help push it out
Thank
there.
you. We appreciate
Absolutely.
that.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Exactly.
You guys
Thank you so
have a
much.
wonderful
Thank
rest
you
of
for
your
joining
week.
us. We'll see you next time.